first couple of days?
Early impressions is you come out of it and you're very encouraged by what you're seeing. You set out at the end of spring, you give guys a list of things you want to see them really improve on and get better. And you've seen some major strides in some of the areas that were our focus of attention, during the summer months and things like that. So you come out, you're encouraged by that, the improvement in those areas, which allow you to continue to build as you get ready for the opening season. So very encouraged.
What were some of those things for Ethan Wolf that you wanted him to build on?
We wanted, from a standpoint of just physical development, he needed to get his lower body more stronger to increase his explosion and being able to get in and out of cuts and running routes and be more physical at the line of scrimmage by just being more explosive. So a lot of hip mobility, a lot of quick twitch type things that he worked in the weight room and over the summer, and emphasizing his skill work on the field. And that's where you've seen the biggest improvements with him.
What was like about Jason Kroom at tight end?
The versatility, the ability to be able to play him in a lot of different places. Whether it's on the line of scrimmage, off the line of scrimmage, in the slot, just move them around and use them as flexible as we want to, within the system. So, but just on top of that, his ability from the ability to retain information and learn and be able to handle that as well has been really good.
What about your new guys? Are they kind of swim in there the first couple of days, or are you seeing some good things?
Well, what you want to do with new guys, you want to load them up, see how much they can handle. Physical stress along with the mental stress and see how they naturally respond in that environment. And both these kids have done a really good job. A lot of the young guys in this class, not just at the tight end position, have done a really good job of responding to that. There's hiccups here and there and those type of things, and you expect that a little bit. But for the most part, they've done a great job digesting that information.
What about Vols in particular? Here's a guy who hasn't played much the past couple of years, had some knee problems. Has he had maybe more rust than some other kids would?
Naturally, he's knocking off some rust from a physical standpoint, but he's a mentally sharp kid, very conscientious, very smart, studies, work hard. So that helps him when he gets out on the field, to kind of just be ahead of it from a mental standpoint. And then just physically, over the course of time, he'll knock off some of that rust and get himself back into the physical shape we need him to be in to compete at a high level.
Coach Jones talks about wanting this to be a player-led team a lot of times. Who is kind of the leader of that group at this point?
And those are the best teams I've ever been around. And right now, we're going to count on that leadership from our older guys. Ethan has done a really good job of that in his approach and in his mindset. Kroom's more of a vocal guy who's been in the program for a while and kind of, has that respect value from a vocal standpoint, but also, the way he works, the way those two guys work. And, what you want to help them understand is, it's one thing to be, vocal and all those type of things just from an experience standpoint, but you got to go out and set the tone from the way that you work, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you prepare, and the way you come in and attack every morning when we get here in camp. And that's the kind of leadership we want from those guys.
You took over special teams. When you came in and look at what they did last year, pretty impressive, wasn't it? And how do you go forward with that? Or you just maintain it or tweak it, or?
Well, that was Team 119, and that's the approach with the guys right now. It's how this world is. What have you done for me lately? So that stuff was all good, but how do we get it better? How do we become more consistent in the areas that we weren't as consistent in, that we want to be more consistent in? So it's really taking it back to the nuts and bolts, back to the fundamentals, back to the techniques, and saying, this is what we did last year, but what are we going to do this year? And doing the things that we need to lead into that to have to perform at the consistent level that we need to be better.
What could you see maybe that you did need to do better in special teams?
I think all around, when you take everything and you break it down, there's not just one thing. I think for the most part there's some technique and fundamental things here and there that needed to be tweaked. Some of that's personnel and mix and matching personnel and getting the right people in the right places and your drill work and how you do put those things together from a standpoint of progression and teaching the kids how it all fits and coming together, especially when you have so many young kids that as talented as we have in this program right now, and helping them to understand that and be able to execute that at the level we want. So I think it's a combination of things, just from a preparation standpoint, it's going out every day and attacking each phase and doing the things we need to do from that standpoint.
It looked like Alvin Kamara was returning some kickoffs in practice. Is that something you look at?
Yeah, you want to take those type of guys that has that ability, that is special with the ball in their hands, and try to always find ways to put the ball in their hands, whether it's through punt return, kick return, throwing them the ball, handing them the ball. We want to get them the football. So you want to take all of those type of body types and those guys that have that skill set and see if you can put them in those situations.
You guys are a staff that is very active on social media. How do things change with the new rule where you can like and retweet tweets from recruits?
That has really changed the game. You know, it's really changed the game, but that's the world we live in. And, you know, a big piece of our job is recruiting. A big piece of our job is that. I mean, it's the lifeblood. We can come in and coach as hard as you want to, but the bottom line is you got to have good players and good people. So, you know, from that standpoint, Coach Jones challenges us all the time to be on the cutting edge of everything we do, whether it's, you know, coaching football, learning new fundamentals, learning new techniques, and recruiting. So whatever it is that we're permissible to do and get out and do, we're going to go ahead and attack it. We're going to be the best in the country at doing whatever we do. So that's the standard around here, and that's what we do.
How does the fan base help with that rule change, with Tennessee having such a huge fan base? Some people that may not follow recruiting can see who you're after, and then they tweet at the kid. Can it be beneficial in that way?
I guess it could be good and bad, just like anything, right? Because, you know, social media is such a stage that people have a platform to say how they feel about anything that's going on and those type of things. So I guess it could be good and bad. The only thing that's important to us is a message that we push that leaves this building from our program and how things are being done and how things are being ran and how we want to recruit with the type of kids that we want to recruit and put in the program.
Player, you mentioned your versatility with Jason. Do you feel like you have enough versatility within this group as a whole to run two tight end set, or at least have two guys on the field? Because I know in the past they've wanted to, but I feel like they have the depth and versatility to do that. Do you feel like you can see that with your guys?
We really do. I think, and as you continue to build the position, and especially at the tight end position, that's what you want to have, top to bottom. You want to be able to be more versatile with all of your guys, because what you, at the end of the day, you hope you can put those packages on the field that can, you know, cause some consternation defensively, put them in a quandary sometimes with some of the things they're doing. So absolutely, I like the way the room is built right now. You know, we've got young guys in the program like Austin Pope and Eli Wolf that are just like that as well. They add and bring a lot of versatility.
There are teams that do a lot of the rugby style punting, and I wonder from that perspective, philosophically, would you put two guys back to return punts, maybe one to try to catch a short line drive rugby punt? What are your thoughts on that?
It all depends. It all depends on the game, the field position, where they're punting from. And there's a lot of different variables that go into making a decision like that. You know, whether to pressure it, whether not to pressure it, whether to put two guys back. So it just depends on who you're playing, the point of the game, field position in the game, and so those type of things are fluid all the time.
In kickoffs, do you believe in having two elite returners back there at the same time, so teams can't kick from a guy like Evan Bear?
Again, that's variable. You know, I think a lot of it just you want to always the most important thing is to have two really good decision makers back there. When the ball's in the air and it's in one of those gray areas and a decision has to be made right then, is you want to make sure you got two smart guys back there that, you know, that both have ability obviously to make something special happen in the return game. But it starts there first. Great decision makers, and then of course athletic guys that can make something special happen with the ball.
How do you get Aaron Medley better and more accurate, at least from distance?
At least, you know what, you got to keep working at it. You know, I talk about kickers like playing golf. You know, the more you keep swinging and the more you go out and work at it, the more you continue to critique and work your technique and your fundamentals and all those type of things, you know, the swings and strokes start to happen. And that's what it kind of is with kicking. You know, you got to go out and just keep kicking, keep lining it up, keep kicking.
We don't often see long snappers come in immediately with a letter of intent, a scholarship. Riley Levengood is one of those guys. What do you see out of him as a long snapper right now?
Well, I think, you know, what we see out of him right now is he's obviously getting the ball back there when we want to and all those type of things. But we want to see the consistency on a daily basis with that. And until you put him in those adverse and pressure situations, time will tell with that. You know, you got to try to create that as much as you can in a practice situation, those pressure situations, lining up, making some of the attempts live and putting that pressure over top of them and those type of things to see how you react. But we'll see how that all goes when we get out there and kneeling and there's 2,000 people in the stands and how he reacts. But we definitely are very encouraged with where he is right now and feel like we have a really good one.
With your experience, how do you go about deciding which guys, especially some of the new guys that you want to be on special teams units, coverage units, kickoffs, that type of stuff, when you're talking about guys that also work on offense and defense as well, and deciding those roles on special teams?
Well, obviously that's a conversation that, you know, for all of us in the room, from the position coach, coordinators, and obviously Coach Jones, the head coach, when we all sit down and start making those decisions of how big of a role a guy's going to play offensively, defensively, and how big his role is going to be shaped on special teams. So that's a collaborative effort, and it's from a program, systematic way as well, where that all comes together for us. And we'll start to make those decisions. And sometimes those decisions aren't made until week 4 or 5 of the season, as far as guys' development and how they've been doing and mastering and taking on the roles that they have right now. And are we going to grow a guy's role, or are we going to pull his role back a little bit, and those type of things. So again, that's another fluid situation that takes some time and works its way out over the course of time.
Are the coaches' roles within special teams here different from the other places you've been, Tampa, Miami, where like G works the kickoff returners, Z's with the punt returners? Is that typical at most college staffs?
That's pretty typical. What you want is a team investment into special teams, and the way you create that culture is to have involvement by all players and all coaches in that. I mean, you're talking about a third of the plays in the game. I think it's important to your whole football team that everybody has personal investment into that. So yeah.